Moonlight spilled over the silvered forest, casting long shadows that danced across the ancient stone amphitheater carved into the heart of the Wolf clan territory. Tonight was the mating ceremony, a sacred night when bonds were formed, destinies entwined, and the Alpha's scent could decide a mate before words were even spoken. Lyra's heart pounded so violently she thought it might betray her the moment she stepped into the amphitheater. She was only half wolf, a secret she had guarded her whole life, and in a room full of pure-blood wolves, being noticed could be dangerous. Yet, here she was, her slender frame wrapped in a flowing cloak of midnight blue, threading her way through the crowd of chanting wolves. Her parents had warned her, never draw attention to yourself. Never sit in the Alpha's section. Never. But the seating was confusing, and nerves made her clumsy. She stumbled over her own feet and, without thinking, sank into a chair directly beside the Alpha King. The entire amphitheater seemed to hush in that instant, though Lyra didn't realize it. All she knew was the heat in the air, the sudden awareness that she had broken an unspoken rule. The Alpha King's eyes, like molten amber and flecked with gold, fell on her. Lyra froze. He was magnificent, regal in a way that made the air around him thick with power. His presence alone made her senses scream and warning ears straining, nose flaring, heart hammering. And then, the recognition hit him. A subtle inhale, a sharp flick of his nostrils, and Lyra's secret betrayed her. Her half-wolf scent, the rare blend of human warmth and wild wolf musk, hit him with the force of a storm. He stiffened, jaw tightening, eyes narrowing, but not with anger. Curiosity, awe, and something far more dangerous flickered there. You're not fully pure blood, he said, his voice low and velvety, carrying a weight that made Lyra's stomach twist. Every wolf nearby seemed oblivious, but she felt like the world had shrunk to just the two of them. Lyra swallowed hard. Aye, her words failed her. He leaned slightly closer, enough that she could feel the heat radiating off him. His gaze bore into her soul, searching, questioning and judging, and yet there was a flicker of recognition. Something familiar, something from a time she didn't remember, a connection that pulsed in her blood and in the very scent she had spent years hiding. Half-bloods rarely make it this far, he murmured almost to himself. And yet here you are, sitting at my side, unafraid. Lyra's pulse surged. She wanted to flee, to hide, to vanish into the crowd, but her legs wouldn't obey. Something about him was magnetic, terrifying, and yet itchingly familiar. Around them, the ceremony began, wolves chanting, silver flames licking the ancient stones, the scent of wild herbs and wolf musk blending into a heady perfume. But for Lyra, nothing existed beyond the Alpha King's gaze and the awakening fire she felt in her own veins. And for the first time, she realized that tonight might change everything. The scent that bound them. The amphitheater trembled with the chorus of wolf voices, a primal chant that resonated deep in the chest and bones of everyone present. Silver torches flickered, casting shifting shadows over the stone seats, but all Lyra could see was the Alpha King beside her, regal, dangerous, and impossibly alive. He didn't move away, nor did he speak further, yet his gaze pinned her as if weighing her worth, her very essence. Lyra's breath came shallow, her pulse a frantic drum against her ribs. The scent he had detected, the delicate intertwining of human softness and untamed wolf blood, clung to her, a beacon he could not ignore. Finally he leaned slightly closer, and the faintest curl of a smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. It was barely noticeable, yet it made her knees threaten to give way. You hide it well, he murmured, almost inaudibly, his amber eyes narrowing with both intrigue and amusement. But the scent does not lie. Lyra's mind scrambled. What does he mean? How does he know? She wanted to shrink into herself, to disappear among the sea of wolves, but something about his presence held her rooted in place. The ceremony moved on, the chanting rising and falling like the tide, but a bubble seemed to form around them. Conversations from nearby wolves faded into white noise. All that existed was the scent that bound them, the electric tension that hummed in the air. You're different, he said after a moment, his tone soft yet edged with command. Most half-bloods hide fear, but you dared to sit here beside me. Boldness like that is rare. Lyra's throat tightened. Bold. She had never thought of herself as bold, just reckless. But under his gaze, the word felt like a challenge, a promise, and a warning all at once. Before she could respond, the Alpha King's attention shifted, scanning the crowd. Something in his posture changed, the subtle curl of his lips, the sharpening of his ears, the tautness in his muscles. Someone approached, their steps hesitant, carrying news that sent ripples through the ceremony. The Alpha requests your presence, a young wolf messenger said, bowing deeply before vanishing into the shadows. Lyra's heart sank. Was he sending her away, or was he calling her forward? Her mind raced, panic tangling with a strange, irresistible curiosity. She could feel his gaze on her, burning with intensity that made her blood roar in response. The Alpha King stood, every movement deliberate and commanding. Stay, he said, his voice low, almost a growl that only she could hear. Do not move unless I say so. Lyra nodded, though barely daring to breathe. The wolves around her began to stir, some glancing curiously at her, others whispering. Yet she felt cocooned in a bubble of heat and power that only he could project. And in that moment, she realized something terrifying and exhilarating. Her life, her hidden half-wolf blood, and her very destiny were now entwined with the most powerful being in their world. The Alpha King had recognized her, and that recognition carried a weight that could not be ignored. He turned slightly, just enough for their shoulders to brush. The contact sent a shock through her, a pulse she could feel in her bones. And in the shadow of the moonlit ceremony, with the chants of the clan rising around them, Lyra understood that nothing would ever be the same again. Tonight was the beginning not just of a ceremony, but of a connection that neither bloodline nor time could deny. The first test. The moon hung low and full, spilling silver light over the amphitheater as the ceremony's chants tapered into a hush. Lyra's heartbeat thudded painfully in her chest. Every instinct screamed to run, yet her body refused to move. The Alpha King's presence was a gravitational pull, irresistible and suffocating. He stepped closer, the scent of him filling her senses, earthy, wild, commanding. Her own half-wolf scent seemed to burn in the air between them, intertwining with his in a way that made her head spin. "You have spirit," he said, his voice barely above a growl, yet it resonated deep in her chest. "But spirit without control can be dangerous. Tonight I must see if you can withstand the trials of your bloodline." Lyra's eyes widened. Trials, bloodline. Her half-wolf heritage had always been a secret, a source of shame and fear. She hadn't expected the Alpha King to challenge her, to know so much or to care. He circled her slowly, predatory yet deliberate, every movement radiating authority. "Your scent is rare," he murmured, nostrils flaring. "It carries both human warmth and the wildness of the wolf. Such a combination. It has power, but it is untamed. Can you harness it?" Lyra swallowed hard, struggling to steady her voice. I think so," she whispered, unsure if it was truth or hope. A glimmer of a smile touched his lips, a dangerous, knowing smile. "We shall see." Without another word, he extended his hand, palm up, a silent command. Hesitant but compelled, Lyra placed her own hand in his. The contact was electric, a rush of heat surged through her, and she gasped as if the very air had ignited. "You feel it, don't you?" he said, eyes locking onto hers. "The bond, the recognition in your blood. You are not just a half-wolf. You are something extraordinary. And I will not let it go unnoticed." Before she could process, he leaned close, his scent enveloping her entirely. Lyra's knees weakened under the intensity, her mind teetering between fear and longing. She realized in that moment that he could see everything, the fears she hid, the strength she doubted, the secret part of herself that even she barely understood. Then came the first trial, the circle of fire. Flames sprang to life around the amphitheater, encircling the ceremonial space. Wolves began to howl, a rhythm that resonated with primal magic. The Alpha King's gaze never left her, commanding yet patient. "Step into the fire," he instructed, voice low but irresistible. "Show me you can embrace your wildness without losing yourself." Lyra's heart raced. Fire was dangerous. Half of her screamed to refuse to flee, but the other half, something deep, untamed, powerful, urged her forward. She stepped into the flames. The heat licked her skin, yet it did not burn. She could feel the magic coursing through her veins, awakening a part of herself she had never dared to touch. Around her, the wolves' chants rose higher, blending with the rhythm of her own heartbeat. The Alpha King extended his hand again, and she felt an undeniable pull toward him. The fire seemed to bow to their presence, flames flickering but not harming, responding to the unspoken connection between them. When she emerged from the circle, sweat beading her brow, she realized she was trembling, not from fear, but from exhilaration. The Alpha King's amber gaze held a new intensity, as if he were seeing her for the first time and already claiming her in ways she didn't yet understand. "You are stronger than I imagined," he said, voice low, almost a growl that sent shivers down her spine. "But this is only the beginning. Your blood calls to me, Lyra, and I will not ignore it." For the first time in her life, Lyra felt both terrified and alive. The half-wolf within her had awakened, and the Alpha King had seen it, and desired it. And in the shadow of the moonlit amphitheater, with flames dancing and the scent of wolves heavy in the air, Lyra realized that her life and her heart had just been claimed. The whisper of the past. The amphitheater had emptied, leaving only the echo of wolf howls and the lingering heat of the ceremonial fires. Lyra's heart still raced, her body tingling from the trial of the circle of fire. Yet despite the adrenaline, she could feel the Alpha King's eyes on her, tracking her every move like a predator studying its prey, though something gentler flickered beneath that fierce gaze. He approached silently, his long strides deliberate, muscles rippling beneath his dark cloak. The amber glow of his eyes caught hers, and in that instant, Lyra felt the world shrink until it consisted only of him and the rhythm of her own heartbeat. "Come," he said softly, motioning toward a secluded grove just beyond the amphitheater. "You need rest and I need answers." Lyra followed, every step weighed down by both curiosity and fear. The grove was bathed in moonlight, silver and soft shadows dancing among the twisted trunks of ancient trees. The air smelled of earth, moss and something she couldn't name, a scent that felt like home and danger all at once. He stopped, turning to face her. "Your scent, it is not ordinary," he said, voice low and husky. "I've sensed it before, long ago. When I was a young alpha, I dreamed of a wolf like you. Half-wolf, fierce yet gentle, carrying strength and blood that is both mine and not mine. You carry that blood, Lyra. I know it, and it calls to me." Lyra froze. Her mimes, blood, recognition she didn't understand. I don't understand," she whispered, shaking. "I've always been careful to hide it. My father, he warned me that being half-blood is dangerous, that I could never be accepted among the full wolves. And yet," her voice faltered, you know me." He stepped closer, closing the distance between them. Every muscle in his body radiated control, power, and an unspoken claim. "I know you," he repeated, softer now, almost reverently. "I've never forgotten that scent, that strength. And now it is here, alive, uncontained, standing before me." Lyra's knees threatened to buckle under the intensity. She could smell the wildness in him, feel the pull of his power against her own emerging strength. I don't even know who I am," she admitted, voice trembling. "How can you know me better than I know myself?" He reached out, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face. The contact sent a jolt through her, sharp and undeniable. "Because your blood is part of something greater. You are not just half-wolf. You are the bridge between what is and what could be. And I have waited for someone like you my entire life, even if I did not know it." Lyra's breath hitched. Every word he spoke carried weight, truth, and something else, desire. She felt drawn to him, pulled into the orbit of his presence in a way that terrified and exhilarated her all at once. He lowered his voice, almost a whisper, so close that she could feel the warmth of his breath. "Do you trust me?" Lyra swallowed hard, her mind a storm of fear, curiosity, and something she couldn't name. I don't know," she admitted, her voice barely audible. His lips curved into the faintest smile, one that was both knowing and tender. "Then let us discover it together," he said. "But know this, Lyra, your blood, your scent, your very soul, it has claimed me, whether you realize it or not. And I will not release it." The grove was silent except for the distant whispers of the forest. Lyra's heart pounded, not from fear of the wild but from the undeniable truth in his words. The Alpha King had seen her, truly seen her, and in doing so, had set the course of her destiny forever. As the night deepened, she realized that what had begun as an accident, sitting beside him at the ceremony, had ignited a fire neither of them could ignore. And in the shadows of the moonlit grove, with the scent of wolf blood and destiny entwining them, Lyra understood that nothing would ever be ordinary again. The spark between bloodlines. The forest around them was alive with the night, soft whispers of wind through leaves, the distant howl of wolves, and the faint rustle of creatures in the underbrush. But Lyra's attention was wholly consumed by the Alpha King standing before her, his amber eyes glowing like molten gold in the moonlight. He took a slow step closer and she felt her pulse spike. The scent of him, strong, primal, commanding, filled her senses, mingling with her own half-wolf musk in a way that made her heart ache with longing. She wanted to retreat, to flee, yet every nerve in her body told her to stay. "You have strength," he murmured, voice deep and velvety vibrating through her chest, "stronger than most full wolves I've known. But strength without surrender is incomplete." Lyra's brow furrowed. "Surrender?" she asked, barely above a whisper if she understood. He circled her slowly, predatory yet deliberate, his gaze never leaving her face. "Yes," he said softly. "To trust, to feel, to allow your instincts and desires to align with your blood. That is the only way to survive and thrive." Her stomach twisted with a mix of fear and anticipation. She had always been cautious, hiding her half-wolf heritage from the world. Yet, standing here, with him so near, she felt exposed in the most intimate way. Then, almost imperceptibly, he reached out. His fingers brushed against her hand, and a literal spark of heat and energy shot through her veins. She gasped, pulling back slightly, but he didn't let go. "Do you feel it?" he asked, his voice low, almost a growl. "This bond, this pull, it is older than either of us, rooted in bloodlines you barely understand. Your scent, your essence, your courage, they are part of something destined, Lyra. Something only I can recognize fully." Lyra's mind spun. Her father's warnings, her mother's quiet teachings, the secrecy she had clung to, all of it collided with the undeniable truth that radiated from him. She could feel her heart opening, trembling under the weight of his gaze. "You're talking as if you've known me forever," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I barely know myself." He smiled, a small, predatory curve of his lips that made her knees weak. "Perhaps I have," he said softly. "Perhaps I have watched over the bloodline, waiting for the one who could awaken it fully. And tonight I sense that you are that one." Lyra felt heat rise to her cheeks. The connection between them was more than scent, more than blood. It was an undeniable attraction, a pull that went beyond logic or fear. Her half-wolf instinct screamed in warning, yet something deeper, wilder, compelled her closer. I don't know if I'm ready," she admitted, voice barely audible. His amber eyes softened, revealing a glimpse of vulnerability beneath the Alpha King's formidable exterior. "No one is ever ready," he said. "But destiny does not wait. Blood does not lie. And now you are here. With me. Whether you are ready or not, our paths are bound." The tension between them crackled, unspoken yet electric. Lyra could feel the weight of his presence pressing against her own, the pull of their shared bloodline threading them together like invisible chains. She realized with a shiver that she had never felt anything like this. Fear and longing, awe and desire, all coiled into a single, overwhelming moment. Then he leaned closer, his gaze locking onto hers with an intensity that stole her breath. "You cannot hide from what you are, Lyra," he murmured. "And you cannot hide from me. Not anymore." The world around them seemed to dissolve, the moonlight, the forest, the distant chorus of wolves, all fading into the periphery. All that remained was the Alpha King, his scent, his heat, his pull, and the undeniable spark that had ignited the first moment he had recognized her half-wolf blood. Lyra's heart raced, her instincts screaming in a way she had never felt before. And in that charged silence, she understood a truth that both terrified and thrilled her. She was no longer just a half-wolf trying to survive. She was part of something greater, something dangerous, and something irresistibly bound to the most powerful alpha she had ever known. And in that moment, the first spark between them ignited. Not just desire, but the promise of a connection that would consume them both, in ways neither could yet imagine. The challenge of shadows. The night deepened, shadows weaving through the forest like living things. Lyra's mind was still reeling from the intensity of the grove, the Alpha King's words, and the undeniable pull that seemed to coil around her heart. Yet she knew the ceremony was not over. In the world of the wolves, trials came in many forms, and destiny often arrived wrapped in danger. A sudden rustle in the underbrush made her flinch. The Alpha King's head snapped toward the sound, ears tilting sharply, muscles coiling. He moved instinctively, a predator in his territory, and Lyra found herself stepping back instinctively, but not out of fear. It was as if she was tethered to him, bound by something she barely understood. "Stay close," he murmured, his voice low, commanding yet protective. "Not all who walk these woods are friendly tonight." From the shadows a figure emerged, tall, lithe and cloaked in dark fur, with eyes glowing in eerie silver. Lyra's blood ran cold. Rogue wolves were rare, but when they came with hunger and malice. The Alpha King stepped in front of her, chest forward, stance wide, radiating power. "You have no place here," he growled, voice echoing with authority that made the rogue hesitate. "Leave now or face the wrath of the pack." The rogue snarled, stepping closer, teeth flashing in the moonlight. "That half-blood, she does not belong. The scent is ours to claim," it hissed, circling eyes flicking between them. Lyra's instincts screamed at her. Half-blood or not, she had wolf blood, and it surged now with raw energy, the fire of her lineage awakened. Without thinking, she stepped forward, matching the rogue's gaze, feeling the power coil in her veins. The Alpha King's eyes widened slightly, not in alarm but recognition. "So, it begins," he muttered, voice low. "Show me what you are, Lyra," the rogue lunged. Lyra's reaction was instinctive. Her body moved faster than thought, claws unsheathing, fangs flashing. She met the rogue head, on her half-wolf strength surprising even herself. Every strike, every dodge, felt like a dance with the Alpha King's eyes watching her, measuring her, approving. "You are stronger than you realize," he murmured, almost a growl of approval. "Your blood is not ordinary. It carries something ancient, something vital." With a final, coordinated effort, Lyra and the Alpha King cornered the rogue. Together, their presence was overwhelming, the Alpha's full power, combined with her untamed half-wolf essence, a force neither had fully tapped before. The rogue whimpered, then fled, melting into the shadows of the forest. Lyra's chest heaved, heart racing from both adrenaline and the closeness of him. She could still feel the Alpha King's heat radiating toward her, his gaze piercing and approving. "You did well," he said softly, voice low, almost intimate. "Most half-bloods would have faltered. But you are different. Your blood is tied to a legacy you barely know." Lyra's mind reeled. "Legacy," she whispered. "What do you mean?" He stepped closer, so near that the heat of his body brushed against hers. "Your bloodline, it is linked to the founders of this pack," he revealed, amber eyes burning with intensity. "The scent that drew me to you, it is not random. It is part of the destiny of the Alpha line. You are meant to be more than what you believe." Lyra's breath caught. "Me? How can that be?" "Because," he said, lowering his voice to a growl that made her shiver, "you carry what the pack has lost. Strength, cunning, courage, and the bond that could unite the bloodlines once fractured. You are the spark, and he hesitated, almost painfully, "I am bound to that spark, to you." Her heart thundered. The danger of the rogue, the fire of her blood, the Alpha King's words, it all collided in her chest. She realized then that she was no longer just a hidden half-wolf. She was pivotal, desired, and claimed in ways that terrified and thrilled her. The moonlight filtered through the trees, casting them in silver and gold, and for the first time, Lyra understood the truth. The Alpha King had not merely recognized her scent, he had recognized her destiny. And tonight, amidst shadows and danger, a bond was forged, one that neither wolf nor human could ever sever. The prophecy unveiled. The moon hung high, casting a silver glow over the forest clearing where Lyra and the Alpha King had taken refuge after the rogue encounter. The air still shimmered with residual tension, her heart racing from the thrill of the fight in the close proximity of the most powerful alpha she had ever known. He stood before her, his amber eyes softened but still glowing with intensity. Lyra felt a magnetic pull, an invisible tether that drew her closer even as fear and caution warned her to step back. "You fought well tonight," he said, voice low, carrying both admiration and something else, something deeper, more intimate. Most half-bloods would have faltered. Lyra swallowed, the heat of his gaze pressing into her like fire against her skin. I didn't know I could," she admitted, her voice trembling. "I've never been strong. Never confident. Always hiding." He stepped closer, closing the distance so that she could feel the warmth radiating from his body. "Hiding only delays what is inevitable," he murmured. "Your blood, your scent, it is not just rare. It is necessary. There is a prophecy, Lyra, one few know and fewer understand. It speaks of a wolf born of mixed blood, a spark that can reunite fractured lines, restore balance, and awaken the alpha line in ways it has not known for centuries." Lyra's breath caught. "A prophecy," she whispered. "And it involves me." He nodded, his amber eyes never leaving hers. "Yes, you were born to be more than hidden. More than half-blood. You were born to ignite a change, to challenge what is, and to awaken what has been dormant for generations. That is why I recognized you immediately. That scent, that power, it called to me across time, across memory. And now it calls to you." Her pulse thundered, the weight of his words, the truth of her hidden power, and the undeniable pull of desire between them left her reeling. She wanted to retreat, to protect herself, but her instincts betrayed her. Every nerve screamed toward him, every sense alight with the electricity of their connection. He reached out, fingers brushing against her cheek, gentle yet commanding. "Do you feel it, Lyra? The bond?" She nodded, unable to speak. Her chest tightened, and heat flooded her veins. The bond between them was undeniable, magnetic, intoxicating, terrifying. "You are not just mine to protect," he continued, voice husky with emotion, "but mine to awaken, to claim in every sense that matters. And I will not let you hide from what you are, or from what we are meant to become." Lyra's heart raced, torn between fear and longing. She could feel the pull of destiny, the heat of his presence, and the undeniable attraction that simmered between them. Her body and soul ached to surrender, yet her mind hesitated. "Alpha," she began, but he silenced her with a finger pressed lightly to her lips. "No words," he whispered, leaning so close she could feel the warmth of his breath. "Actions speak louder than any prophecy. Let your instincts guide you, Lyra. Let yourself feel what your blood has always known." In that charged silence, the air between them crackled. Their eyes locked, breaths mingling, hearts pounding in synchrony. The forest seemed to hold its breath, the moonlight shimmering like a spotlight on the moment when destiny, bloodline, and desire converged. Lyra realized then that she was no longer just a half-blood hiding in the shadows. She was the spark, the key, and the bond, the one the Alpha King had been waiting for. And as his hand slid from her cheek to entwine with hers, she understood a truth that both thrilled and terrified her. This was only the beginning of something wild, consuming, and inevitable. For the first time, she felt the stirrings of surrender, not just to him, but to the destiny that had been calling her since birth. The first touch. The moon hung heavy in the sky, spilling silver light across the forest clearing where Lyra and the Alpha King stood. The air was thick with anticipation, carrying the scent of wildflowers, moss, and wolf musk. The Alpha King's scent blending with hers in a way that made her senses reel. He stepped closer, closing the distance until the space between them seemed impossibly small. Lyra's heartbeat thundered in her chest, her pulse matching the pull of his magnetic presence. Every instinct screamed to flee, yet every part of her longed to stay, to surrender to the undeniable force drawing them together. "Do you trust me?" he asked, his voice low, velvety, and commanding. Lyra hesitated, her gaze flickering between his amber eyes and his lips. I think so," she whispered, the truth threading through her fear. "Then do not think," he said softly. "Feel." Before she could react, he reached out, brushing a strand of hair from her face. The touch was gentle yet electrifying, sending shivers racing down her spine. She swallowed, breath hitching as her half-wolf instincts roared in response to his nearness. His hand lingered on her cheek, thumb tracing her jawline with delicate pressure. "Your blood, your essence, it calls to me," he murmured, voice husky. I have waited for it my entire life, and now that it is here, I cannot resist. Lyra's knees threatened to buckle. She began, but words failed her. Her entire being was focused on the heat radiating from him, the pull that felt inevitable, and the storm of emotions she could no longer control. He leaned closer, lips hovering over hers, amber eyes locking onto hers with an intensity that made her world shrink. "You are mine, Lyra," he whispered. Not just by scent or bloodline but by bond. And then, as if the forest itself held its breath, he kissed her. It was not just a touch of lips, it was fire, storm, and instinct intertwined. Lyra felt herself melting against him, every part of her body and soul responding to the claim he laid upon her. Her half-wolf blood surged, awakening strength, heat, and longing she had never known. He pulled back slightly, just enough to gaze into her eyes. "Do you feel it?" he asked, voice rough with emotion. "The connection, the bond." Lyra nodded, trembling. "Yes," she whispered. "I feel it, all of it." He smiled, a slow, predatory curve of his lips that sent a thrill down her spine. "Good," he murmured. "Because this is only the beginning." Over the next hours he guided her through the awakening of her powers. Under his watchful gaze, Lyra learned to channel her wolf instincts, strength, speed, heightened senses, while simultaneously exploring the depths of the bond that tied them together. Each touch, each glance, was a lesson in trust, desire, and destiny. When dawn broke, silver light spilling through the trees, Lyra felt transformed. She was no longer a hidden half-blood, she was a force, awakened by the Alpha King's guidance, claimed by both bloodline and bond. And as she leaned against him, feeling the steady warmth of his body and the electric pull of their connection, she knew one truth with certainty. Their hearts, their destinies, and their souls were intertwined, and nothing, not even time or danger, could break the bond that had ignited under the moonlit forest. Shadows of threat. The dawn had barely begun to touch the forest with pale gold when a chill wind swept through the trees. Lyra's senses, sharpened under the Alpha King's guidance, twitched with unease. Something was out there lurking, watching, waiting. The Alpha King noticed her tension immediately, his amber eyes narrowing. "Do you feel it?" he asked, voice low and commanding, a subtle growl beneath his words. Lyra nodded, the hairs on her arms standing on end. "Yes, someone is near, watching us." He stepped closer, his presence a protective shield, his body brushing hers in a way that made her pulse thunder. "Stay behind me," he ordered. "Do not move until I say." Moments later, a shadow emerged from the mist, a group of rogue wolves, larger and more aggressive than the one they had faced before. Their eyes gleamed silver in the dawnlight, teeth bared in predatory snarls. One of them stepped forward, voice sharp and mocking. "So, this is the half-blood the Alpha claims. We've smelled her. Her blood is ripe," Lung claimed. "We will take what is ours." Lyra's blood surged. Half of her instinct screamed to flee, but the other half, her half-wolf blood awakened and alive, roared back. She stood her ground, feeling the Alpha King's power behind her, the tether between them pulsing like a living thing. "Back," the Alpha King growled. Stepping forward, his form shifted subtly, a primal aura radiating from him, muscles tensing, power rippling through every movement. "You will touch her only over my body." The Rogs hesitated, sensing the raw force between Lyra and the Alpha King. She could feel her own strength rising, instincts and bloodline merging, giving her clarity, speed and power she had never felt before. "Show them," Lyra, the Alpha King commanded softly, eyes locked on hers. "Show them what you are." She inhaled deeply, centering herself. Her senses flared, she could hear the slightest rustle of leaves, smell every drop of musk in the air, feel the heartbeat of the rogue nearest to her. And then, with a burst of energy, she unleashed her strength. Her movements were fluid, precise and lightning fast. She dodged and countered, fangs flashing, claws striking, a blend of wolf ferocity and human cunning. The Rogs faltered, unprepared for the force of her half-blood power, amplified by the Alpha King's proximity. Beside her, the Alpha King moved as one with her, protective yet commanding, his presence magnifying her own strength. Together they were unstoppable, a perfect blend of raw power, instinct, and bond. The Rogues, sensing defeat, retreated into the shadows, leaving the clearing eerily quiet. Lyra's chest heaved, sweat mingling with the lingering adrenaline. The Alpha King stepped closer, brushing a strand of hair from her face, amber eyes softening. "You did well," he murmured, voice low and intimate. "Stronger than I imagined. Your blood, your courage, it is extraordinary." Her heart raced, not from fear but from the closeness of him, the heat radiating from his body, and the undeniable chemistry crackling between them. I couldn't have done it without you," she admitted, voice trembling. He smiled, a slow, predatory curve that sent shivers down her spine. "No," he said, his hand resting on her cheek. "You could have. I only guided you, but it was your courage, your blood, your essence. That is why you are the spark I have been waiting for." The forest was quiet again, the danger past, but the tension between them remained, charged, intimate, and impossible to ignore. Lyra felt it in every nerve, Every pulse of her heart, the Alpha King was hers in every sense that mattered, and she was his. And as the dawn painted the forest in soft gold, Lyra realized a truth she could no longer deny. No threat, no rogue, no shadow could ever separate them. Their bond, born of blood, destiny, and desire, was unbreakable. Trust in the shadows. The forest had settled into an almost sacred silence after the rogue encounter, broken only by the distant calls of wolves greeting the dawn. Lyra's body still hummed with adrenaline, but her mind was captivated entirely by the Alpha King standing before her, his amber eyes glowing with intensity and something softer, something like longing. "You were extraordinary today," he murmured, his voice low and intimate, vibrating through her chest. "Stronger than I could have imagined. But strength alone is not enough." Lyra tilted her head, wary yet drawn to him. "Not enough," she asked softly. "What else do I need?" "Trust," he said simply. "Not just in me but in yourself. In what you are, in what your blood calls you to be." She swallowed hard, her pulse racing. Trust was something she had never given freely, not to humans, not to wolves, not even to herself. But with him, something in her wanted to leap, to surrender, to let go. He stepped closer, closing the small space between them until she could feel the heat radiating from his body. "Do you feel the bond?" he asked, voice rough with emotion. "The connection between us?" Lyra nodded, breath hitching. "Yes, I feel it. Everywhere." "Good," he said, a slow predatory smile tugging at his lips. "Because the bond is more than scent or bloodline. It is trust, desire, and strength intertwined. And it demands surrender if you are willing." Her heartbeat thundered. Every instinct screamed to pull away, but every fiber of her being urged her forward. She wanted him, wanted the bond, wanted to embrace the destiny he had awakened within her. He reached out, fingers brushing her cheek, lingering at her jawline, a gentle yet commanding claim. "Look at me," he whispered. She obeyed, eyes locking with his amber gaze. "I will guide you. I will protect you. But you must trust me as much as I trust you." Lyra's chest rose and fell with shallow breaths. I trust you," she whispered, though the words felt like a promise she was only beginning to understand. He stepped even closer, until their bodies were mere inches apart. "Then let me show you," he murmured, voice husky. "Not just my strength but mine for you." And with that, he leaned forward, capturing her lips in a kiss that was both tender and consuming. Lyra melted into him, her hands clutching his cloak, her half-wolf blood roaring with heat and energy. The kiss deepened, a dance of desire and trust, a melding of instincts and hearts. Pulling back slightly, he whispered against her lips, "Feel it, Lyra. Feel your power, feel us." Her senses flared, heightened by his closeness and the bond that tethered them together. She could sense the rhythm of his heartbeat, the strength in his body, the heat of his blood mixing with her own. And she understood, this was not just passion. This was connection, destiny, and awakening all at once. "Your power," he murmured, hands trailing along her arms, "grows stronger when you accept it, when you accept me." Lyra shivered, the heat in her veins igniting. I accept you," she whispered, voice trembling with emotion and desire. He smiled, a predator's grin softened by tenderness. "And I accept you, Lyra, fully. Blood bond and heart." In that moonlit forest clearing with the scent of wolf blood, earth, and wildflowers mingling in the air, they embraced, not just as alpha and half-blood, but as two halves of a whole, bound by destiny, desire, and a bond that neither time nor danger could ever break. The Alpha King pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead, then pulled her close, murmuring, "This is only the beginning. Together we are unstoppable. And nothing will ever come between us." Lyra rested against him, her half-wolf instincts and human heart finally in harmony. She knew this was true, their bond was eternal, their destiny entwined, and their love, wild, fierce, and consuming, had only just begun.